of free expression, we have to also acknowledge in our turn that if we can see at all, despite all the dust that is daily hurled in our eyes, it is because we too today stand on the shoulders of giants like Asma Jahangir and so many others. If we can still speak, despite the choking fog that is forced down into our lungs and that stifles our tongues, it is because Asma Jahangir and others like her gave us the words and the voice to do so. And so we would be unworthy of her legacy if we chose not to use that voice. My name is Arar Khoro, and it's my singular honor of my otherwise undistinguished life that I'll be moderating this session on curtailing freedom of expression by legitimizing censorship. So first, let me just introduce our panel. We have with us Mr. Stephen Butler, the Asia Program Director of the Committee to Protect Journalists. We have Hamid Mir Saab, Naami Kafi hai, मैं इनका मज़ीद तारुफ नहीं करूँगा. Joining us from India, we have renowned journalist Barkha Dutt. We also have Jyoti Malhotra, Senior Editor of The Print India. Right here, sitting over here, we have Munize Jahangir, again, needs no introduction, host of Spotlight at Aaj News and Editor-in-Chief of VoicePK.net. We're also joined by Ms. Virendra Grover, lawyer and human rights activist all the way from India. And right here, we have Christine Chung, the South Asia team leader of the Office of the UN High Commission for Human Rights. So, Mr. Butler, I'm going to start with, and before we start, I just have two announcements on behalf of the organizers. One is an apology because some of our guests were unable to attend in person, and that's because despite repeated assurances and promises, they were not issued visas in time. However, thanks to the miracle of technology, they're right here on our screens. We will also request the audience to please help us share these conversations on social media. And if you could do that, that would be a great help. If you could also use the hashtag AJConf21. That's AJCONF21. On a personal note, got a bit of a cough and a head cold, so if I fumble a little bit, it's not self-censorship, it's just the smog. So,
the thing is, Arar, we can hear you but can't see you, so you're already playing Big Brother.
Well, there you go, there you go. And now the hate begins, Yeah. So, sorry. We're going to start with Mr. Butler. Mr. Butler, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
All right, wonderful. Now, Mr. Butler, when we talk about censorship, right, it conjures up, right now we just heard about Big Brother in 1984. It conjures up images of, people in back rooms, blanking out print stories, taking news clips and interviews off air. But it's a lot more insidious than that now, isn't it? Censorship takes on varied forms. It's opaque and it's amorphous. Perhaps we could talk a little bit about what kind of, how do we even define censorship today in the world as we stand?
Well, there are many ways that censorship is imposed. Right now, we're seeing across Asia, the imposition of a whole series of legislation, anti-terror laws, sedition laws, cybercrime laws, and national security laws that are being used against journalists. Of course, the ultimate form of censorship is murder, which we've seen in Pakistan and India, in Afghanistan, and many other places.
All right, with that, I'm going to go to you, Ms. Chung. You have a specific focus looking at South Asia. And could you just give us like a brief synopsis and a little bit of an overview of the challenges faced by journalists in particular in this region?
Okay. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you had a chance to enjoy an abbreviated lunch. Let me just start by thanking the organizers for the opportunity to sit here on this panel, and it's an illustrious group of co-panelists. I am going to speak briefly about the situation of freedom of expression in South Asia. I used to be a regular visitor to the region, but this is my first time back since January 2020. Unfortunately, the COVID pandemic appears to have exacerbated trends in the region that have been underway for some years. I am going to focus this reflection on the impact of the limitations of this fundamental human right, the freedom of expression, on the media.
Last is what the region and what the West should do. I think the region.
Sorry.
What is that?
What was that? Just carry on.
Okay. It is important to keep in mind that the violations of the right to freedom of expression extend beyond media professionals more broadly to human rights defenders and others, including ordinary people doing their normal activities, like joining peaceful demonstrations to protest government policy, or even just doing their jobs. The indicators for South Asia are not good. Despite the flourishing of independent media in the past 2 decades, the combined effect of consolidation of media ownership, the new business environment brought by social media, and state control have contracted this important democratic space. If we look at the region comparatively, South Asian states are falling short of their duties to respect, protect, and fulfill the right to freedom of expression. The Maldives, which comes out at the sort of best ranking, on the World Press Freedom Index for this year, actually, for 2021, ranks 72nd out of 180 countries. Nepal comes in at 106th, Sri Lanka 127th. But India, out of 180 countries, is ranked 142nd. Pakistan is ranked 145th, and that's dropping from its previous position of 142nd. And then Bangladesh comes in at 152nd. Afghanistan, before the Taliban takeover, was ranked at 122nd. I don't need to explain to those of you in this room that a free and independent press is essential to a functioning democracy, that journalists help to hold governments accountable to the people, that they are essential to ensuring that political leadership are reminded of their duties to deliver peace, development, and human rights to the people without discrimination. They remind those responsible for governing their societies of the fundamental principles of transparency and accountability in government, and they help facilitate public trust and participation in decision-making. In many instances, these efforts are coming at great cost to the professionals and individuals who seek to exercise their freedom of expression and to ensure for others the right to information. UNESCO has reported that since January 2019, at least 137 journalists have been killed worldwide, more than 2/3 of them in countries not experiencing armed conflict. And according to Reporters Without Borders, this year, at least 45 journalists, and that's a broad category that includes citizen journalists and assistants, 45 journalists have been killed this year, and 9 of them were from South Asia. Now, these figures are very conservative because they only include the Reporters Without Borders research, where they've been able to clearly establish that the killings were killed out in connection to the journalistic work. And this situation is actually perpetuated by impunity. UNESCO estimates that in almost 9 out of 10 cases, the killings of journalists go unpunished. And while killings are the most extreme example, many more reporters are routinely subjected to threats of violence, smear campaigns, and vicious online trolling. These attacks can be particularly insidious when they target women journalists and bloggers, and those from minority communities. Public officials appear to be complicit in some of these cases, but proper investigations are rare. And it is not just physical hazards from violence, enforced disappearances, or killings. Many governments have been deploying strategies of legal harassment, including in Asia, in South Asia, by applying vaguely defined laws on national security, defamation, incitement, disinformation, cybersecurity, and to do this to silence critics. In some cases, these are old colonial era laws that have been repurposed. Rosina Islam, a journalist, was recently arrested, is now bailed under the colonial era Official Secrets Act, and many others have also been detained under the Digital Security Act following their critical reporting of the Bangladesh government's response to the pandemic. Similarly, in Pakistan, human rights defender Idris Khattak is being charged with treason under the Official Secrets Act, and he's going to be tried by a military court, despite being a civilian. The COVID pandemic has provided new impetus for this kind of censorship, where governments have sought to curtail criticism and debate in the name of combating misinformation. Such legal measures against freedom of expression are not confined to journalists. In India, use of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act has increased significantly in recent years against a wider circle of activists and in Indian-administered Kashmir. In Indian-administered Kashmir, social media content of government employees is now being subject to police scrutiny for anti-national activities, and this has already reportedly led to dismissals. The COVID pandemic has paused for many of us the usual way of living and working, but the High Commissioner for Human Rights, my boss, has pointed out that the pandemic has made clear to us that media freedom is more necessary than ever. She has said, clarity about what is happening, including the impact of public health policies, can only be established by independent sources. A free press is vital to combating disinformation, deliberate falsehoods intended to advance political ambitions or commercial interests, which intensify social polarization and destroy public trust in important institutions. So it seems that the right to freedom of expression is a matter of life and death after all, and not just for journalists. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chung. हामिद साहब, आपकी तरफ आता हूँ मैं. अक्सर कहा जाता है कि there is no freedom of expression in Pakistan. I think that's wrong. Freedom of expression है, freedom of after expression का काफ़ी मसला हो जाता है. यहाँ पर आपकी अपनी राय क्या है इस पर?
First of all, before responding
जी.
to your question, I would like to condemn the attitude of those people or those institutions who refuse to issue visa to the guests of this conference, Stephen Butler and Jyoti Malhotra. So I think that if these people in power, they cannot tolerate the presence of Stephen Butler and Jyoti Malhotra in Pakistan, this is the sign of their weakness. ये कमज़ोर लोग हैं, इनको शर्म आनी चाहिए. The other thing
वृंदा
is-
ग्रोवर, हमें वृंदा ग्रोवर जो इंडिया में जो लॉयर हैं उनको भी नहीं वीजा दिया गया.
Thank you, Hamid.
जिसको भी वीजा नहीं मिला.
हाँ.
और I am here to express my solidarity to all those friends who were denied visa for Pakistan, and I think that all people present in this hall, they will endorse me. आप मुझे endorse कर रहे हैं? बिल्कुल. Secondly, मैं ज़रार खोड़ो साहब के सवाल की तरफ आऊँगा. ये if you go to any city of Pakistan, any village of Pakistan, and ask a question to a common man, किसी सड़क पे, चौक में, चौराहे में, कहीं भी चले जाएं, उससे पूछें, is media free in Pakistan? They will start laughing. नहीं, पाकिस्तान में मीडिया फ्री नहीं है. क्यों नहीं है अब उसकी डिटेल में मैं नहीं जाता, लेकिन यहाँ पर आज क्योंकि एक इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस है, सो आई वुड लाइक टू mention something which is very important not only for Pakistan but whole of the South Asia. Sometime back this year in 2021, the Reporters Without Border, they issued a list of press freedom predators. आज़ादी सहाफ़त के दुश्मनों की एक लिस्ट जारी की गई है. 37 head of the states are included in that list. आज़ादी सहाफ़त के 37 दुश्मन, कोई सदर है, कोई वज़ीर आज़म है. Out of those 37 people, this is very interesting that the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, is there. Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, is there. Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Hasina Wajid, is there. And President of Sri Lanka, Rajapaksa, is there. This is a matter of shame for the whole of South Asia. हमारे साउथ एशिया के ये 4 अहम मुल्क हैं, चारों जगह पे डेमोक्रेसी है, जमहूरियत है. पाकिस्तान, इंडिया, बांग्लादेश, श्रीलंका. और आरएसएफ कह रही है कि ये चारों मुल्क जो हैं, इनके जो प्राइम मिनिस्टर और प्रेसिडेंट हैं, ये सहाफ़त के दुश्मन हैं. अब some people in Pakistan, they may claim that, oh no, you are wrong. The press is free in Pakistan. Like the Chief Justice of Pakistan was making a claim here some time back that the judiciary is free in Pakistan. So he was making this claim. So many people in Pakistan, they will make this claim that the media is free in Pakistan. Okay, so if the media is free in Pakistan, so there is a gentleman sitting in the audience. His name is Matiullah Jan, and he was kidnapped from Islamabad, and he's a journalist. And when he was kidnapped, so almost all the TV channels in Pakistan, they aired the CCTV footage of those people who were in uniform and they were kidnapping him, and their faces were very clear in that footage. Matiullah Jan came back after 24 hours, but the Chief Justice of Pakistan, he called the Islamabad police and other security agencies, and he asked them that who is responsible for that. Matiullah Jan is sitting there, and he will not deny my claim. Everybody is aware that who kidnapped Matiullah Jan, but the police and the other security agencies, they lack courage to tell the Supreme Court of Pakistan that who kidnapped him. Same is the case with the journalist Asad Tur. He was also beaten in Islamabad, and a police report was registered in Islamabad 6 months back. The Home Minister, Mr. Sheikh Rashid, he made a claim that we will arrest the culprits very soon. Now 6 months have been passed, and there is no development in that case. Same is the case of Absar Alam, who was shot in Islamabad. So these cases were registered in Islamabad, not in other part of Pakistan. So Zarar Khoda Sahab, you can judge, and you the lawyers and the human rights activists, the civil society members, you are present and you know that who is doing all that. So you see, when somebody claims that judiciary is free in Pakistan, or somebody claims that media is free in Pakistan, I very humbly disagree with all those people, including the Chief Justice of Pakistan, because he said that मेरी कोर्ट फ्री है. बिल्कुल आपकी एक राय है, लेकिन मतीउल्लाह जान के मामले में हमें नज़र नहीं आया. अगर आप चाहते हैं कि हम आपको बिलीव करें, एंड वी वुड लाइक टू बिलीव यू चीफ जस्टिस साहब, अगर आप चाहते हैं कि हम आपको बिलीव करें, तो फिर जो मतीउल्लाह जान का जो मामला है, और जो असद तूर का मामला है, और जो अबसार आलम का मामला है, उस पर आप लेना सो मोटो नोटिस लें उसका, और दूध का दूध और पानी का पानी कर दें. सो मैं कोई लंबी स्पीच नहीं करना चाहता. मुझे आसमा जहांगीर साहबा के हवाले से एक बात याद आ रही है. ये अवारी होटल जो है वो ये माल रोड पर है, और यही जो माल रोड है, यहाँ पे एक दफ़ा नहीं बार बार आसमा जहांगीर साहबा ने इंसानी हकूक़ के लिए, आज़ादी सहाफ़त के लिए उन्होंने डंडे खाए, और एक दफ़ा उनके साथ हबीब जालिब साहब भी थे। उस ज़माने में हम स्टूडेंट थे। तो जालिब साहब जो हैं वो हमेशा एक बात कहा करते थे, और देखें ये बात उन्होंने आज से कुछ चार दुहाइयाँ पहले कही थी। 4 decades ago a poet in Pakistan said something about the threats for press freedom in Pakistan, but after 40-45 years still he is relevant. फर्जी मुकदमात हैं, झूठी शहादतें, हम फिर भी लिख रहे हैं जुनू की हकायतें। तो ये जो फ्री मीडिया होता है, इस फ्री मीडिया से जो लोग डरते हैं वो कमज़ोर और बुज़दिल लोग होते हैं, और जिस मुल्क में मीडिया फ्री नहीं होता उस मुल्क में जुडिशरी फ्री नहीं होती। तो मैं बड़ी आजिज़ी से, बड़े अदब से सिर्फ ये गुजारिश करूँगा कि देयर इज़ अ बैरोमीटर फॉर फ्री जुडिशरी, देयर इज़ अ बैरोमीटर फॉर फ्री पार्लियामेंट इन एवरी कंट्री। इफ़ यू वांट टू जज the independence of judiciary and the independence of parliament, you should only analyze the independence of media. And if media is not independent, then rest assured, judiciary is not free and parliament is not free. And if judiciary, parliament and media is not free, then there is no democracy. So, sorry to say, मैं समझता हूँ कि there is hybrid democracy, which means fake democracy in Pakistan. And fake democracy is the biggest threat for this country. And if you love Pakistan, you have to give freedom to media, independence to judiciary and independence to your parliament. मेरा ख्याल है ज़रार खोड़ो साहब आपको मेरे सवाल का जवाब
बिल्कुल सर, लेकिन फिर भी हामिद साहब देखें, हामिद साहब यूके में फिर भी, यूके से फिर भी ज़्यादा फ्री है आपका मीडिया। मैं नहीं कह रहा, it's just a bad joke. It was a bad joke उस वक्त भी, it's a bad joke now.
We need rule of law, but there is rule by law. There is legalization of censorship in Pakistan. That is another subject. That is another subject. उस पर हमने एक और सेशन में बात करनी है. But there is no rule of law in Pakistan. There is rule by law.
बिल्कुल, हर में ऐसे ही होता है। आपने जो अल्फाज इस्तेमाल किए ना अभी हामिद साहब, आपने बुज़दिल का लफ्ज़ इस्तेमाल किया था, आपने एक और लफ्ज़ इस्तेमाल किया था, बुज़दिल के साथ एक और लफ्ज़ इस्तेमाल किया था। मैं एक इजाफा करना
जो आप कहना चाह रहे हैं वो कह दें।
नहीं, मैं कह रहा हूँ,
आपके दिल में है, बोल दें।
मैं कह रहा हूँ कि मैं एक और लफ्ज़ उसके साथ इजाफा करना चाह रहा हूँ, और वो है बेवकूफ़ भी हैं। और बेवकूफ़ पता है क्यों है? क्योंकि आप वीज़ा बंद कर देंगे तो क्या पूरी जगह की इंटरनेट भी बंद कर देंगे, स्क्रीन भी बंद कर देंगे? मतलब कौन ये इस तरह के फैसले लेता है? कौन सा आप, क्या हम 70 या 60 की दिहाई में बैठे हुए हैं यहाँ पे? दूसरी बात है कि आप मुझे दिल पर हाथ रख के बताएं, हमले से पहले असद तूर के वीडियो लॉग्स आप में से कितने लोग देखते थे? अगर उस वक्त हज़ारों लोग देखते थे, अब शायद लाखों लोग देखते हैं, करोड़ों लोग देखते हैं। तो ये जितना भी बंद करने की कोशिश करते हैं, द मोर दे ट्राई टू क्लैम्प डाउन, पानी अपना रुख वैसे ही ढूंढ लेगा और हमेशा ढूंढ लेता है। तो आप बेसिकली ना सिर्फ अवाम को तो आप बेवकूफ़ नहीं बना सकते, अवाम सब समझती है, ये शायद अपने आप को ही बेवकूफ़ बनाकर खुश हो जाते हैं, अपने ही बंद कमरों में अपने लिए ही तालियां बजाते हैं कि सर व्हाट अ वेल डन जॉब। अभी मिस चोंग एंड मिस्टर बटलर, वी वर बोथ टॉकिंग अबाउट हाउ, एंड हामिद मीर साहब आपने भी ये बात की कि फ्री मीडिया के बगैर जमहूरियत मुमकिन नहीं है। यू कैन नॉट हैव डेमोक्रेसी विदाउट अ फ्री मीडिया। सो आई एम गोइंग टू टर्न नाउ to our Indian colleagues, and we have with us Jyoti, I don't know if Barka Dutt has joined us yet, but we have Jyoti Malhotra and Ms. Grover with us. And I just want to ask you, first I want to just make a statement, Ji, ke I have to confess, myself and a lot of people, I think in this country, there was a time when we'd look across the border with a mixture of envy and admiration, you know, कि जैसा भी है, एक डेमोक्रेटिक प्रोसेस है, एक सेक्युलरिज्म है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनली एनश्राइंड, एक चीज़ आगे चल रही है। नाउ व्हेन वी लुक एट इट, इट्स लुक्स लाइक अ कॉशनरी टेल। सो Miss Jyoti, I'm sorry, I keep calling you Miss Malhotra. Jyoti, I want to come to you that in this atmosphere, I mean, where we see large parts of the electronic media sort of fanning the flames of hatred, we see state, again, जैसे अभी हामिद मीर साहब ने कहा, again ruled by law. Munawwar Farooqi is arrested for a joke that he never even cracked. Abhi Tripura mein, we have seen journalists being arrested simply for reporting the news. How difficult has it become to even carry on the semblance of independent journalism in this kind of an atmosphere? Jyoti.
Zarar, thank you so much for inviting me to this. But first of all, before I start, I just want to say thank you so much and lots of love to Munize, especially to you, for inviting me and Brinda to your conference. And we both know Brinda's on the screen, and unfortunately we can't see any of you, so this is a one-way street.
Yeah.
But anyway, but I really do want to thank you all for inviting us to the conference. Asma was such a special person, and Munize, you've really inherited the fighting gene, and I think because of you, you must have moved half the Hindu Kush mountains by now, or at least the Margala Hills in Islamabad. But unfortunately, the powers that be didn't give way. But having said that, we are both here with you in spirit, and very, very happy to be here online and be part of this conference. I also want to thank two other people, Mariam Najamuddin and Rehan Piracha. They have been very, very helpful to me especially, and I'm sure to Brinda. So thank you all for this love across the border. Now, to answer your question, Zarar, I have 3 points to make. The first is कि आज के दिन हम सब राष्ट्र विरोधी हैं. Now, I don't know if you understand this Hindi word, but the word is anti-national. कि आज का जो दिन है, 20 नवंबर को, we are all anti-national, and I'll tell you why. The reason is that if you look at the Indian media today, if you look at the newspapers this morning, they're all celebrating the repeal of 3 farm laws that were brought about last year, over a year ago, by the Narendra Modi government. And I'm not going into the laws themselves, whether they were good or bad. There's a lot of argument. कि कुछ बहुत लोगों का ये कहना है कि जो ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन था 60 के दशक में, उसका जो बेनिफिट है वो सब खत्म हो रहा है, और ये जो फार्म लॉज थे, ये पूरे पंजाब के एग्रीकल्चर को, जो किसानी है, उसको एक पूरी तरह से खत्म कर रही थी. तो मैं उसके बेनिफिट्स और उसके जो है उसकी कमजोरियों पे नहीं जाने वाली. मैं ये कहना चाहती हूँ कि जो ऑर्डिनेंस के तहत पे, उसके जो ऑन द स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ द ऑर्डिनेंस, जो फार्म लॉज जो पार्लियामेंट के अंदर जो supposedly ये जो legislation जो फिर लाए गए थे, and for a full year or more than a year, farmers, thousands and thousands of farmers have been sitting on the outskirts of Delhi. तो आज के दिन जब ये farm laws, और हमारे जो प्रधानमंत्री हैं, elected prime minister, not a selected or a hybrid prime minister, we have to make that very, very clear, Zarar. You said कि you used to look at India, with a mixture of envy and admiration. All I'm saying to you is that you cannot give up, and neither can we give up. And that's the strength of our democracies. And when things are bad, then we have to keep going. I mean, look at Hamid. Hamid Mir is on this panel. Unfortunately, we can't see him. But Hamid Mir has 2 bullets in his body, but he's refusing to kowtow to the Forge or to the powers that be, or to anybody who says that he is not going to let Hamid speak. I mean, he's been taken off his show has been taken off by Geo for the comments that he made 6 months ago. He's still not back on them. But guess what? The Washington Post has given him a space to speak up. So I think that if journalists are going to be shut down in one space, then another window will open for them in another space. And not just will the window open, but we have to open the window. We have to keep the windows open. So when you talk about what's happening in my country, you're absolutely right. Comedians like Munawwar Farooqi, there's another guy called Nalin Yadav. There were these 3 or 4 young men who in Bhopal more than a year ago were arrested because a BJP MP's son basically said कि मुझे इनके जो jokes है, और उन्होंने अभी तक jokes crack ही नहीं किए थे, जो आपको पता है. And they shut them down. और बेचारे को मेरे ख्याल 50-55 दिन जो है वो जेल के अंदर रहे हैं for no reason at all. Similarly, अभी जो त्रिपुरा में incidents हुए हैं, but the Tripura case is a little bit different. There was a group of lawyers that went to Tripura to look at the alleged vandalism of a mosque. अब इसमें क्या हुआ है कि जो हमारा जो Ministry of Home Affairs है, which is the equivalent of your Interior Ministry, Home Affairs Ministry ने ये साफ एक स्टेटमेंट दिया एंड वेरी और बार बार यही रिपीट किया है कि जो मस्जिद के अंदर या मस्जिद के चारों तरफ इस तरह का कोई जो है नो द मस्जिद वाज नॉट वैंडलाइज्ड, उसमें कोई उसके साथ कुछ नहीं हुआ। लेकिन इसके बावजूद जो रिपोर्टिंग हुई है उसमें हमारे यहाँ एक लॉ है जिसको कहते हैं अनलॉफुल एक्टिविटीज ऑफ प्रिवेंशन एक्ट, इट्स बेसिकली UAPA, इट्स एन एंटी टेरर लॉ। और आपने देखा होगा कि पिछले साल 1.5 साल में ये जो UAPA है ये आवाम के खिलाफ और जर्नलिस्ट के खिलाफ जो है with great regularity this law is being applied. So one is that in Tripura there are young journalists against whom laws like this have been applied. You've seen comedians, Veer Das, who has just made a big, who was at the Kennedy Center in the US recently. Again, there is a petition against him by a BJP leader in Delhi. And there is a journalist called Siddiq Kappan who has been in jail for more than a year.
Yeah.
क्योंकि वो पिछले साल हाथरस में एक गैंग रेप हुआ था और उसके खिलाफ जब उसको वो रिपोर्टिंग के लिए वो जा रहा था तो उसको वहीं पे मेरठ में वो पकड़ा गया और वहाँ तब से वो बेचारा पिछले साल 1.5 साल 1.25 साल से अभी तक जेल के अंदर है. So while you have a court, and I'm not even going to get into the Aryan Khan case, अब वो जो है अब उसमें तो हम, these are separate stories. Why Bollywood is being shut down? Why are they trying to shut down Bollywood? Why are they trying to censor voices that will speak up? And remember, emergency के दौरान हमारे यहाँ जब 1975 और 77 के बीच तो 2-2.5 साल जो emergency हुई थी, उसके दौरान जो फिल्मी जगत था उस वक्त के जो हिंदी मूवीज उस वक्त के जो एक्टर्स थे वो काफी क्रिटिकल रहे थे उस जमाने में इंदिरा गांधी के खिलाफ. तो ये जो सारा जो नैरेटिव, the stitching together of this narrative of people who want to speak up and who are now being the government is trying to shut down alternative voices. लेकिन मैं एक और बात कहना चाहूंगी. I think you're absolutely right. Just because they deny you visas or just because they try and shut you down, इसका ये नहीं मतलब हुआ कि you should be shut down. So I think that's where smaller news outlets like mine come in. I work with a print. Barkha, who's also online, who's also part of this webinar, works for a news outlet called Mojo. And these news outlets which are now providing alternative opinion, alternative news, our sources are of course the same, but because we are smaller and therefore we have the courage to speak up, and these voices are getting heard in India. और हमारी जो सब्सक्राइबरशिप है, हमारे जो रीडरशिप है, इट्स ग्रोइंग ऑन अ डेली बेसिस. पैंडेमिक के दौरान आपको पता है कि इंडिया के अंदर क्या हुआ, खास करके सेकेंड वेव जो अप्रैल मई जून में के जो अंदर जो हादसे हुए हैं वो आप सब जानते हैं, मैं उनको रिपीट नहीं करूँगी. लेकिन हमारी जैसे वेबसाइट्स ने, हमारी जैसे न्यूज़ आउटलेट्स ने ये जो सारे ऑल्टरनेटिव जो वॉइसेस जो ब्रॉडकास्ट किए हैं, उनके इन लोगों को इंटरव्यू किए हैं, जो हालात जो आवाम की हालात थी उसको वो बार बार जो है ये जो सारी स्टोरीज जो सामने आई थी. तो मैं ये कहने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ कि आपके देश में, आपके मुल्क में जो आपने अभी हाइब्रिड गवर्नमेंट की बात की, जो हम साफ कहते हैं कि जो पाकिस्तान की फौज है दैट कंट्रोल्स पाकिस्तान, इट हैज ऑलवेज कंट्रोल्ड पाकिस्तान सिंस इंडिपेंडेंस इन 1947 एंड इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू लेट दैट पावर गो अवे. सो इन अ सेंस इट्स लाइक, so जो आप जो मीडिया की बात कर रहे थे पाकिस्तान के अंदर, जो आपने हामिद से जो सवाल पूछा कि why that you believe that there is some sort of control or it's after the event, and I would say it's a bit like the government saying in India or the army or the military establishment saying in Pakistan, or encouraging the media to fall in love with the oppressor. तो एक ये जो स्टॉकहोम सिंड्रोम वाली बात होती है कि आप मीडिया को इतनी कस के घेरते हैं, you put the media into such a tight embrace that you are exhorting journalists to fall in love with you. But I will end with the third point that I wanted to make is at the end of the day, both India and Pakistan have to listen to their people. There is no alternative to listening to the voices of the people. आप कुछ भी कर लें, आप कुछ भी देख लें. देखिए, जब नवाज शरीफ कुछ सालों के लिए जब आपके यहाँ प्रधानमंत्री थे, you had to listen to the voices of the prime minister. अब उनको आपने निकाल के जो है फौज ने किसी भी तरीके से वो आप सब जानते हैं, and I'm not going to go into that, and the former prime minister is now sitting in exile in London. But your alternatives, और अवारी होटल के अंदर मैं देख रही थी आपको ये जो आसमान जहांगीर की जो कॉन्फ्रेंस है उसमें आपने मोहसिन दावर को बुलाया है. Now you don't hear in the Pakistani media the stories that come out as much as they should from Waziristan कि PTM के साथ क्या हो रहा है, जो जिस तरीके के जो हालात हैं उधर, उनके जो लॉन्ग मार्चेस हो रहे हैं, कुछ स्टोरीज जरूर आती हैं, but not as much as that. You would ask the same question to me कि कश्मीर के अंदर जो इतना कुछ हो रहा है और इंडियन मीडिया जो है उसको क्यों नहीं उसको दिखाती या उसके बारे में लिखती या उसको ब्रॉडकास्ट करती. And you would be absolutely right in asking me the same question. So I think we are both guilty in many ways, but I will end by saying that I think censorship, the phrase that you used, is perhaps is I would use it differently. I would not say that the
It's
Indian
inadequate.
and the Pakistani media are legitimizing censorship. What I would say is that you want the media to bend to your will. And fortunately, I'm much more hopeful. I don't think that either the media in India or Pakistan, at least in India, yes, you have large swathes, you have big TV channels like Times Now, Republic TV, who are bending, and not just bending, they want to bend to the will of the government, but you have other people who will speak up. And I just want to end by drawing your attention. I'm sure all of you have read and seen the stories in the Pakistan media about the Kartarpur Sahib corridor. Look at how both governments had to give in to the will of the people. And now you have hundreds and thousands of Sikh pilgrims who, without a visa, are crossing the international border, coming to Kartarpur Sahib, matha tekoing, and going back home. And hopefully one day we will also be able to meet in Lahore or in Delhi. But thank you so much again, Zarar, for letting me speak, and to Munize and to all of you for inviting me to participate at the Asma Jahangir conference.
Thank you so much, Jyoti. And with that, I'm going to come to Virinder Sahiba. अभी आप सुन रही थी और ये बहुत अच्छा जुमला इस्तेमाल किया अभी ज्योति साहिबा ने, falling in love with your oppressor. अब जब हम सेंसरशिप की बात करते हैं, मेरा ख्याल है कि ये नाकाफ़ी है ये लफ्ज़, क्योंकि it's not about just silencing people, it's about drowning them out with other narratives. और वो अब हम देखते हैं इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मीडिया के ज़रिए या अब ख़ास तौर पर सोशल मीडिया के ज़रिए. और मैं अभी हाल का एग्जांपल इस्तेमाल करूँगा, जो फार्मर्स प्रोटेस्ट चले हैं और जो महीनों से चलते आ रहे हैं. जहाँ तक मैं देख रहा हूँ, और ज़ाहिर है कि आप बहुत ज़्यादा मेरे से देख रही हैं, वहाँ पर देशद्रोही कहा गया, खालिस्तानी कहा गया, झूठे इल्ज़ाम लगाए गए. जैसे यहाँ पर हर दूसरे दिन किसी ना किसी को गद्दार इतना कह देते हैं कि लगता है कि यार अगर इतने गद्दार हैं इस मुल्क में तो मुल्क कैसे चल रहा है, विच इज़ अनदर क्वेश्चन इंटायरली. इन दैट एटमोसफियर एक इंडिविजुअल किस हद तक अपने आप को सेल्फ सेंसर कर लेता है कि यार अगर मैंने ये बात की तो कल अर्नब भाई आ जाएंगे, कल वो 10 और आ जाएंगे, या हमारे जो देसी अर्नब हैं हामिद भाई आप जब जानते हैं अच्छी तरह से, वो हमारे पीछे आ जाएंगे, कोई 50,000 यूट्यूब पर वीडियोस आ जाएंगी और मेरे खिलाफ कल हैशटैग चलेगा. किस हद तक ये एक डर भी हमारे अंदर बैठ जाता है या आपके अंदर?
Thank you, Zarar, and good afternoon to all of you, particularly friends in Lahore. As Jyoti said, it's very sad that we could not actually be there in Lahore and be with all of you. I have many friends in Pakistan, in Lahore, and I was looking forward to meeting all of them after a long while. I also want to mention here on a personal note, my family, part of my family comes from Lahore. My father was born in Lahore. I have actually never visited Pakistan. And I am very sure that one of these days we will be able to make sure that we can meet. I can travel, and friends will make sure that I can travel there of you in Pakistan itself. Thank you, Munize. Thank you, Mariam. Thank you, Rehan, for all the hard work that you did. But I'm sure we'll chip away at these borders and boundaries and enable friends and colleagues to move across for conversations and dialogues, which we will carry on regardless. I had the good fortune of knowing Asma, and I also want to remember at this moment Rahman Saab and Kamran, all of whom I had the good fortune of knowing as a member of South Asians for Human Rights Seher, of which Salima and many others are present. Salima Hashmi and others, I'm sure, are present in Lahore today as part of these programs. Taking forward, Zaraj, some of the things that you've been raising, I've been hearing the other panelists, including overviews that have been given by Christine and critical comments by others, Hamid, Jyoti, and others. I think what we need to complicate the story more from where perhaps Jyoti left it is, and a question that you asked, which I think is an important question today. और हम लोगों को उसको confront करना होगा और उसको देखना होगा. And I will say this, that particularly speaking on this panel today, at an Indo-Pak panel, has the thought not crossed my mind that I must choose my words carefully?
Yeah.
It has. And we must acknowledge that in order to be able to confront the reality in which we are living. One is today choosing one's words carefully. Why does one do that? It's not necessarily out of fear. My understanding is that we also need to be smart to not get embroiled. I'm a lawyer. I do not wish to waste my time chasing my own tail and extricating myself from legal complications. It's my job to ensure that other people who are entangled with the law or who are deliberately drawn into certain legal webs, I am able to provide assistance to them. So yes, I will choose my words carefully, because I know that there will be people who are waiting for the occasion and a word may slip out, because I believe very strongly that we must speak regardless. And say, when we talk about, we must speak regardless, and we must continue to speak our minds and voice our opinions. Here, I just want to say a couple of things linking to what the panelists earlier spoke about. Hamid, आपने कहा कि आप लोग इंडिया को देखते हैं और सोचते थे कि हम भी उस तरह की जमहूरियत कब होगी. हम लोग भी आपको देखते थे, आपके जैसे मैंने नाम लिए उन लोगों को देखते थे कि एक आर्मी रूल होने के बावजूद कितनी हिम्मत और हौसले से आप लोग लड़ते हैं और सड़क पर उतरते हैं उस लड़ाई के लिए, कोर्ट में जाते हैं, अखबारों में लिखते हैं. तो वो लड़ाई की जो एक इंस्पिरेशन है कि अगर जमहूरियत नहीं है तो उसके लिए हर हाल में हम सबको लड़ना होगा. दूसरी बात कि हम, which is it's well known to everybody present in this kind of program, democracy is not about casting ballots. Democracy is practiced by people. And therefore, in order to ensure that we have a stronger democracy, it is not about who's winning the vote or who's getting a majority in parliament. It is about how we are going to push that democracy to become a people's democracy, which is perhaps what the farmers' struggle showed to us very clearly, the people's resistance for just laws and a just regime. Yes, we all do censor ourselves, but what is it that is happening today, apart from social media, which is the new beast in our midst? I, for one, do not write on Twitter, ever. I eavesdrop on Twitter, of course. Like everybody else, I want to know if I need my hourly news, that's where I'm going to go. But I don't write on Twitter at all, which is a decision I took for myself.
The Taliban,
that
I think the problem is whether the Taliban
I think
accepts a different
ये कोई खलाई मखलूक आ गई है यार, इसको रोको.
a different
अच्छा,
view.
ज़मीनी मखलूक है.
I think there's a cross
about that.
connection.
Sorry
I was
about
wondering
that.
whether the Taliban wants to
it's
tell
like
me what
it's
to
like
speak.
वो
That
जैसे
would be much.
80s में क्रॉस लाइन हो जाती थी ना एक ज़माने में, अगर कोई किसी को याद है, वही है. जी.
Very true. तो जो मसला इस वक्त मुझे लगता है हम लोग censorship क्यों करते हैं? Law has been commissioned by all regimes today to actually censor our speech. And through the weapon of law, this kind of censoring is taking place. As was mentioned earlier, sedition, a colonial provision, continues to be one of the most legally oppressive measures. And under sedition, of course, we have Supreme Court judgments which keep saying, no, for it to be within the bounds of freedom of expression, it has to be very narrowly, strictly interpreted. But that's not how the policeman on the ground is going to read it. So you will have activists, you will have journalists and all other human rights defenders who for words that they speak will be embroiled and will be entangled in cases regarding sedition. And then you can be racing from court to court with FIRs hanging over your head and warrants of arrest. You have the Official Secrets Act.
Yep.
You have the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. So law today is not necessarily an enabling tool in a democracy. It has become an instrument in the arsenal of the state, and therefore we need to revisit how do we understand laws. I also think we need to understand the location of different people. Human rights defenders, women human rights defenders who are targeted in a very different manner. A recent example being a lot of Muslim women being targeted on social media by a website which was putting them up for sale.
Sully deals,
Who were
yeah.
these Muslim women? These Muslim women were not just Muslim women. They were Muslim women who on Twitter and other social media were voicing strong political views, challenging the right wing, challenging patriarchy. So it is an attempt to silence and stifle certain voices. As was mentioned earlier, we have seen perhaps one of the longest internet blockades in Kashmir ever known in a democracy. That's what the UN Special Rapporteur said. So there are parts and there are locations. If you are a Dalit reporter, the manner in which you will be targeted would be different. And I think it's important to recognize this complexity because everybody does not get targeted in the same manner. And those attacks, which are then recorded, of course, by organizations which are looking into journalism and journalist protection, record that. But these are certain kinds of targeting that is taking place through the law.
Absolutely.
I would in fact
Ms. Grover, I'm so sorry to interrupt.
सिर्फ dissenting voices को रोका जा रहा है
बिल्कुल.
या freedom of whether free speech in itself is in danger and whether the nature of technology and social media has today made put free speech into jeopardy, and it's not necessarily, you don't even have to reach the point of dissent.
बिल्कुल.
It's a mere opinion. अगर आपने criticism और dissent कर दिया तब तो कहीं और ही, और किसका और कौन कह रहा है. Free speech for certain kinds of hate speech is rampant.
Yes. I hate to be accused of silencing you because that would be so ironic. But I have to move on to Miss Barka Dutt. And Barka Sahiba, I'm so sorry, I couldn't see your screen. तो मेरा ख्याल था कि कहीं आपको भी किसी ने गायब तो नहीं कर दिया.
नहीं मैं तो 1 घंटे से चुपचाप बैठ के सब कुछ सुन रही थी. I've been here throughout. No problems at all.
अच्छा जी. Now Barka, interestingly, just one observation that I have is that you are one of the people who I think has the rare distinction of being attacked by every single side possible. I mean,
I was just-
See you, Barka. Can you?
I don't know, my video is a bit unstable.
Okay,
so it's
we
somehow
can't
been
see you.
flickering
We
off, so I've
can't-
just kept
yeah,
it off
can we-
just to have a better, more
Okay.
stable line, Jyoti. I can
Okay,
see all
fine,
of you though.
fine.
I can see all of you.
We can't
Okay.
see.
Okay,
can't see
you
you.
can hear me, right? You can
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
me?
yeah.
Okay, so Zarar, I'm so glad that you framed the introduction by saying that I have been attacked by every single side, because indeed, I think I must be one of those rare people who can be called a jingoist and an anti-national all at once for the same reportage. तो मेरे साथ तो ये बहुत होता है और बहुत सालों से होता आया है. And also, you know, we are talking about India and Pakistan and our region, but I'm in London right now on a fellowship, and I think different parts of the world are grappling with this idea of the boundaries of free speech in different ways. Yahan par, for example, Oxford and Cambridge are now looking at a legislation जहाँ पे ये चर्चा चल रही है कि are you supposed to just tolerate another person's view or respect it? And imagine इस semantics को लेकर there is voting both in the UK Parliament and in these universities, and the cancel culture imposes itself from both sides, the extremes of the right and the extremes of the left. There was a very renowned university professor at Sussex just forced out of her job because of a certain position that she had, much like the author of the Harry Potter books, J.K. Rowling, on the trans community. So all I'm trying to say is that हम लोग, you know, इसका कोई सिंपल जवाब नहीं है. जिन बाइनरीज में हम इन मुद्दों को समझते आए हैं, मुझे लगता है कि अब हम इतना जी चुके हैं कि ये बाइनरीज अब अप्लाई नहीं होती. I find dogma of all kinds actually abhorrent, which is probably why I get attacked from all sides, because मुझे सच में लगता है that I'm a free speech absolutist. मैं तो कुछ भी सुनने के लिए, you know, as long as it's presented as a reasonably thought idea, no matter how much I may disagree with it, I am willing to engage with it. And therefore, there is that position, that lonely corner in which people like myself, you know, find myself. आप इंडिया पाकिस्तान के संदर्भ में भी देखें तो I have no hesitation in saying कि I am not a global citizen. I'm an Indian. I speak as an Indian. I don't believe in a borderless world. That said, I am a product of my history. My father was born in Sialkot. My parents are a refugee family. They came to Delhi with nothing. Our first home was given to us on a refugee plot. I have many of the mixed up, up and down, schizoid relationships that all refugee families of the Punjab have with Pakistan. I have spent a lot of my professional energy reporting Pakistan. Some of my closest friends, including Munize, are across the border. Her mother was another very, very dear friend. As a rule, by the way, because I was listening to Vrinda saying कि let's acknowledge कि none of us want to waste our energies on meaningless kerfuffles. As a rule, by the way, मैं कभी किसी पाकिस्तान टीवी चैनल पे नहीं जाती हूँ, क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि what we already disagree on is so well known that it is such a tutu meme, it is a pointless conversation. But for friendship, for deep friendship of the kind that I had with Asma and of the kind that I have with her daughter, I will always make that exception, irrespective of what the consequences may be or what the questions raised thereafter may be. But it's not that Munizi and I look at Kashmir the same way. It's not that Asma and I look at Kashmir the same way. It's not that we look at, you know, the role of the Pakistan state in the same way. It's not that Munizi looks at the role of the Indian state in the way that I do. So I think that we must acknowledge and be comfortable with our differences. And it's okay. It's absolutely okay. I don't feel frightened of differences. And I think censorship or self-censorship in particular begins where we start to be terrified of our differences, where we feel the need to alter our opinion because we think that we need to mirror the opinion of the person in front of us, whether it is to win brownie points on Twitter, whether it is to, you know, get the approval of the dominant right wing or in India presently, or the very influential and in its own ways just as powerful left wing in India. I'm telling you, I have the approval of neither. I know that my work is very much ferociously my own. And it's okay. I'm comfortable with telling the truth as I see it, as I record it, as I chronicle it. And on this day, I just want to, because all of you have already spoken about all that is wrong, I just want to say that yesterday I heard a farmer at the protest site say, when these laws were repealed by Prime Minister Modi, he was making jalebis. And उन्होंने हमारे मेरे colleague, as Jyoti mentioned, I now am the editor of a digital platform called Mojo Story, and it has really given me a new, I would say a new, passion for journalism that I had lost in my years in TV. But
Fantastic.
खैर, तो वो किसान, sorry Zara, I'll end after this, वो किसान जलेबी बना रहे थे, celebrate करने के लिए the repeal of the farm laws. तो उनसे बोला गया कि ये आप मोदी जी से क्या कहना चाहेंगे? उन्होंने कहा हम मोदी जी से कहेंगे कि वो यहाँ आए, हम उनको भी जलेबी खिलाएंगे. So the same sort of leader whom they had criticized vociferously for 1 year, who was compelled in the end by a powerful people's movement to defer to the will of the people, was now being invited with grace and civility to come to the protest site to partake of the celebrations. This is a reminder to us that actually dissent is still alive. Actually, the power of people is still alive. Actually, the power of even the media that chooses to tell the stories is still alive, that we haven't lost our voice. And I agree with Jyoti that there is no question of giving up. There are, for every despairing story that we have another story where the voices of the people and the voices of those who speak for the people who don't have a voice continue to make our difference. So for a
Fantastic.
few minutes,
Thank you.
let's
That's
grasp what works instead of talking about
sorry
what
to
doesn't.
interrupt. That's such a positive note, I think, to move forward on, and we're running out of time now. I'm told we also have to do a quick Q&A. But Mr. Butler, I just wanted to come to you briefly. We've heard all of this. There's, tales of repression, but there's also tales of hope. So just tell me, in your considered opinion, is it going to get better, and will it get worse before it gets better?
I think it's hard to be optimistic, to be honest. In the short run, certainly.
Yeah.
If you look across the Asia region, just look at what happened with the Nobel Prize Committee. They awarded it to Maria Ressa of the Philippines and Dmitry Muratov of Russia. It was awarded for Maria's remarkable accomplishments and courage. She's been faced with multiple lawsuits. She could end up in jail quite easily. But they made that award to recognize her courage, but also as a statement that press freedom is essential and that it's under attack across the world, in the Philippines, in Russia, but elsewhere. My organization just on Thursday awarded its highest honor, the Gwen Ifill Press Freedom Award, to Jimmy Lai in Hong Kong. He too has shown incredible courage, more or less single-handedly, taking on the communist government with his with the Apple Daily, with Next Digital Media. And I met Jimmy in his office about 2.5 years ago, and he was quite aware the Chinese government was coming after him. But he said he would not buckle, he would not flee his home, and he is now in jail, quite possibly for the rest of his life. The Apple Daily was forced to close. China may be a unique case in terms of its power over the media, but I think I look at these two individuals, Maria Ressa and Jimmy Lai, and I say it takes that kind of courage. If we want to uphold the kind of values that we all have here, I think, in terms of freedom of speech and human rights, it's going to take a lot of courage and a lot of determination. Every year on the night of November 30th, CPJ, takes a snapshot of a number of journalists who are in prison. For the first time this year, Hong Kong will be there with 8 journalists, mostly from the Next Digital. Last year, Myanmar had 1 journalist on the census. This year, there will be dozens. The coup in Myanmar effectively wiped out what was a thriving independent media sector and forced many into exile. We did have one victory earlier this week when the US journalist Danny Fenster was released from prison, but we don't have enough of these victories lately. Vietnam, the number of imprisoned journalists is going way up. And my organization has been dealing with this unfolding crisis across the border from Pakistan and Afghanistan, where there was also a thriving independent media sector. And now hundreds of journalists and their families have fled the country out of fear and desperation. Many more are trying to get out. We've we have been trying to help those at risk. And every day in September and October, we were getting hundreds of requests for help to leave, and we're still getting dozens daily. The Taliban, fortunately, have not been systematically killing journalists, but journalists have been picked up on the streets and beaten, and self-censorship is on the rise. Women are now afraid to go out to the streets and report. And with the economy in free fall, something like 70% of media properties have simply ceased to operate. A little footnote here which is I'd like to thank the National Press Club in Islamabad. They are helping us look after some Afghan journalists as we help to arrange resettlement in a third country. Christine mentioned, the case of Rosina Islam in Bangladesh. Earlier this year, the writer Mustafa Ahmed died in prison, actually, and he was in pre-trial detention under the Digital Security Act. And what we believe it's a case of medical neglect. And his friend, the cartoonist Kabir Kishore, has suffered permanent hearing loss and other severe injuries because of his torture. I think others have talked quite effectively about India and the situation in Pakistan. I would just conclude that I think it is a bleak picture worldwide, but I think we have to take inspiration from the courage of many journalists who have stood up. I'll stop there.
All right, thank you so much. And we're almost out of time now. Manize, just want to come to you for some final words. I know you're extremely stressed out, running around organizing as well as participating. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, thank you, and I'll keep it short because I know that there's another session as well, but allow me to welcome everybody over here. Thank you so much for coming. You, as the audience, have made this conference a success. And I'd like to thank all the panelists also who have joined us from across the border. And you know why we kept the name Challenges to Human Dignity? Because these days, people who speak the language of war are given visas. There are no borders for them. They can cross the borders. But those who speak the language of peace are confined to their borders, and we must just hear each other over the social media. That is why we are calling this Challenges to Human Dignity. We are calling this Challenges to Human Dignity because when journalists are beaten in their own homes and their seniors stand up for them, their programs are shut down. What would you rather have? That seniors stand by and watch the juniors being beaten up in their own bedrooms for just speaking out the truth? That is why we are standing for our dignity over here. We're also standing for our dignity here because, let me remind you, that my mother, Asma Jahangir, used to say this, that there are many parts of the Constitution that need to be revisited by the policymakers. Let's look at Article 19 of our Constitution. I always saw it as an article that gives me freedom, but if you read it, it is conditional upon that I speak in the interest of friendly relations with foreign states, defense of Pakistan, etc. All the other laws, PICA and otherwise, even in the CRPC, are taken from this and imposed on journalists. फिर हम पूछते हैं कि अगर आपने आइन के तहत नहीं चलना और इस मुल्क में सियासत करनी है, तो फिर ये कैसे हो सकता है कि सहाफ़ी आपके बारे में कोई खबर ना छापें? और जब वो खबर छापें, तो आप जो है उनको कहते हैं कि खबर नहीं छापोगे, तरदीद छाप दो। अगर खबर ही नहीं है तो तरदीद किसकी छापें सर? बात यह है कि आज मैं आपसे ये कहना चाहती हूँ, we have signed the UN Convention. Christine is sitting here right amongst us. We've ratified the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights in 2010. After that, we passed the PICA law. And at that time, we kept telling the PMLN, please do not pass this, because it will be against the interests of journalists, it will clamp down on freedom of expression. And ironically, not only did it clamp down on the freedom of expression of journalists, it hit that same very party. Today, a 3 times Prime Minister, Nawaz Sharif, and his entire leadership are facing sedition in courts for speaking out against the defense forces in Pakistan, for which we cannot say anything under Article 19. Well, then what about Article 19A, which gives us right to information? What about all the UN declarations that you have signed? I will not go into how our journalists here have been slapped with sedition charges. I remember recently Mir Saab made a speech in favor of a young journalist who was beaten, and somebody went to file a sedition charge. We called up that complainant, a habitual complainant, and we said, where did Hamid Mir Saab say, where did he take the name of a general? And he said, madam, वो ते गलती हो गई, 19-20 हो गई. ऐसे बड़े कंप्लेनेंट्स हमने देखे हैं जो नज़र कुछ और आते हैं, जब टीवी पे आते हैं तो कुछ और होते हैं, उनकी आइडेंटिटी भी वही नहीं होती. हमने ऐसे भी कंप्लेनेंट्स देखे हैं जो फैक्ट्री वर्कर होते हैं, और जब वो देखते हैं कि कोई ना कोई सहाफ़ी कोई ऐसी बात करे जिसकी उसकी दिल आज़ारी होती, तो वो इस्लामाबाद तक आके पीका लॉ तक हमारे खिलाफ कंप्लेंट करते हैं. बिलाल फारूक केस, हम उन सब कंप्लेनेंट्स को अच्छी तरह जानते हैं, हम उनका पीछा करते हैं, हम उन पे स्टोरीज करते हैं, हमें पता है वो कहाँ से आते हैं. हम ह्यूमन डिग्निटी के लिए इधर इसलिए खड़े हैं क्योंकि टुडे एज पीपल ऑफ साउथ एशिया our states have stopped listening to us. And we as journalists cannot stop telling the truth to suit vested interests in the states. And I hope that in the future, we will be as people allowed to meet one another, to at least have some semblance of sanity and be allowed to at least speak of our dignity. ये नहीं हो सकता कि आप हमें मारें और चूं भी आपकी मर्जी की निकले. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Can we please have a big hand for Manize Jahangir and all the organizers of the conference and also our respected panelists. I think they spoke beautifully. Do we have time for a Q&A? Yeah, we don't have time for a Q&A. We don't have time for a Q&A session. Thank you all for coming.